Mr. DeLeone,
Here.
Mr. Ferrara,
Here.
Mr. Kuhar,
Here.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Here.
Ms. Shaffer,
Here.
Mr. Sidoti,
Here.
Mr. Turner,
Here.
Ms. Wallach. Mr. Amrhein.
Here.
Here.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Ferrara, you have opening remarks in the pledge.
I've got no remarks other than I hate my computer. So if you can, let's stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and
Which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
All right, Mr. Ferrara, I need a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass. All right. Public communications, I understand there is one person that wants to talk to us. Amy?
I'm wondering if this is him. It's Jason Ciccatelli. I'm going to admit him right now to the meeting.
Okay.
All right. The Jason Dean?
Yes.
Jason? Jason?
He's not up yet.
Yeah, he's not.
Might be muted, huh?
He's not.
No,
in
he's
the-
actually not hooked up yet. There you go.
There he is.
Hey,
Jason.
Yeah,
Jason, we're in public communications. I understand you want to speak to council. If you would give your full name and your address, and we'll give you 3 minutes to share your concern with us.
oh, thank you very much. I appreciate the time here. I apologize for my technical difficulties here. The reason I wanted to join this meeting is I've spoken to several council members here. And first, can everybody hear me okay? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. The reason why I wanted to be part of this the meeting is I have a background in data analytics. I recently graduated from Case Western Reserve University's data analytic program, as well as healthcare ethics from Kent State University's philosophy department. And the reason why I'm concerned here is because my wife was actually in China during the COVID outbreak. She was there on business, and I've been aware and following the information to the best of my ability since January on this. And we're unfortunately at a impasse here between two well-known problems with healthcare ethics. And that is the ethics of autonomy and the ethics of benevolence. Now, the ethics of benevolence is that healthcare professionals are to act with the best care in mind for everyone. The ethics of autonomous is that people's autonomy are supposed to be respected. And I think that you have examples, like one popular example would be somebody has an STD, tells the doctor, please don't tell my wife about this. And that doctor, has to inform a spouse in that case, because the ethics of benevolence, not spreading that STD, supersedes the ethics of autonomy. And I think with the case of mask wearing, when you look at the data where 75 to 80% decrease in cases spread, I think in that case, the ethics of benevolence, where we require a compulsory requirements to wear masks in public by both workers and customers supersedes the ethics of autonomy, just as in the same way as the previous example.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by
And
pound.
I think that it's important that Kent could be a leader in this case because luckily our governor has allowed for counties and cities to create ordinances that can go beyond what the state has done, unlike Texas where cities and counties are not allowed to do that. Given the fact that we're going to have thousands of students coming here in the fall, and they will be wearing them on campus, it seems odd that to cross the street, you would have a different set of rules. Now, if ordinances can't be passed, maybe a resolution could be done and a very strict stance by the city, because I know it puts law enforcement in a very difficult position. Maybe even looking at if we reach a certain threshold in a number of cases that spread, we then can look at ordinances that would, be compulsory to enforce. I hope we wouldn't reach that point, but maybe if we have a plan where we can enact measures as cases increase or decrease, so we don't have to face another whole shutdown.
Jason, you got a half a minute, if you would.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I appreciate the city council's work. I know you guys have a very tough job. I think in this position, we can find an avenue for the ethics of autonomy and the ethics of benevolence to find a way to work together where we can respect people's rights. Because that's, remember John Locke, influenced our Constitution, and when liberty, life, and pursuit of happiness, when others infringe on my pursuit for that, we all have a duty to make sure that that doesn't happen as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you maybe get your concerns in writing to our clerk so we all could read them in detail?
I certainly can. I already have it written down. Right now I'm kind of just going off the top of my head as a summary of what I've written.
All right, because it's important. I thank you.
Thank you,
I
Jason.
thank you guys very much. Public service is extremely, extremely important. So I thank all of the public servants that are listening. Thank you.
All right. Amy, is there further?
That's it.
Thank you.
All right. Written communications, please.
The Architecture Review Board agenda for June 2nd, 2020, and meeting minutes for May 5th were received on May 28th, 2020. The Planning Commission agenda and staff report for June 2nd was received on May 26th. The Sustainability Commission meeting agenda for June 1st and the minutes from February 2nd were received on May 29th. The Board of Health minutes and statistical report for May 12th and agenda for June 9th was received on June 4th, 2020. The Board of Zoning Appeals agenda and staff report for June 15th was received on June 5th, 2020. A letter from the Portage Substance Abuse Community Coalition was received and forwarded to council members on May 29th, 2020. And then Civil Service agenda for June 15th, 2020 was received on June 11th. And the Parks and Recreation Board packet for June 18th was received on June 12th, 2020.
Okay, thank you. Under city manager report, Jack, Mr. Amrhein.
Yeah, could we approve, I move to approve items 1 through 8 on the city manager's report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who seconded it?
Tracy.
Oh, okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, that passes. Is there further, Mr. Roller?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. We'll start off in our committees. That we have nothing under the committee of a whole. Community development, Mr. Kuhar.
Yes, I'd like to move to approve the minutes of May 20th and June 3rd.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Further, Mr. Kuhar?
I didn't hear you.
You want to do the actions?
I think I did the actions, didn't I?
Or did you do them all together?
No.
No,
I don't think so. Do the actions just for the
Okay,
legal side.
move action number 1.
Second, is there any discussion on action number 1? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Further, Mr. Kuhar?
Move action number 2.
Second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Just one opposed, Jack?
No, I said aye for favor.
Okay, well, our voices kind
I'm
of,
being,
Oh, would
yeah, my computer is delaying, so.
all right. Okay, so that passes.
is this where I the amendment in or
No, after
later?
it's read.
When we get into adoption, John,
Okay.
with the clerk read draft number 2020-39 in title only.
draft number 2020-39, an ordinance imposing a temporary moratorium on the applicability of section 1191.13 of chapter 1191 titled Capital Improvement Fund Matching Amount as it pertains to the city's obligation to match developer fees paid into the Parks and Recreation Development Fund and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Move suspension.
Please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach.
Yes.
Suspension passed.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yeah.
Ms. Wallach.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-39 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-48 in title only?
Draft number 2020-48, an ordinance amending chapter 505, section 505.19 titled Farm Animals / Livestock and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein.
Yes.
Need a motion for adoption.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by John. Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Rosenberg,
Yes.
Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-48 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-49 in title only?
Draft number 2020-49, an ordinance creating a designated outdoor refreshment area known as the Downtown Kent Designated Outdoor Refreshment Area, enacting regulations and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone.
Yes.
Need a motion for adoption.
Move adoption.
Move to amend.
Wait a minute, John.
Okay.
Heidi, you moved adoption?
Yeah, do I
Second,
have a second?
Who's the
second.
second?
I got it.
Second by Roger. Now, John, is there any discussion?
I moved to amend.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. After talking with several people, I actually have, I guess I should put it in two amendments. I don't know, it'd be the best way. Talking with some of the people on North Water Street, Larry Wright asked me to talk in his behalf, and Mr. Simon, a couple other business owners, and one more resident that feel that North Water Street, at least past Portage Street, should be eliminated from the DORA. Says at this present time and through the test period, there are no liquor establishments on North Water Street past Portage Street. So there's no reason for people to be allowed to be carrying beer around. And plus, nothing could be worse than coming down Sunday morning with your kids out of church watching somebody with a brewski in their hand. So that would be the First Amendment.
Is there a second to John's? Are you making that a motion, John?
Yes, yes.
Is there a second to Mr. Kuhar's motion?
I'll second that just for conversation.
All right, John, go. Anything else on the motion?
No, that's pretty much the conversation's already been had.
Roger?
No, I was just curious, do we have a timeline on when the brewery is going to be open at the end of North Water Street?
Well, there's two breweries in that section, is there not?
Yeah, but do we have any timeline? Maybe Tom can talk to that, speak to that.
Yeah,
Well,
there's nothing's going to be open in 3 months.
right.
Did
So it's logical, you know.
So the question is going to Mr. Wilkie. He's muted. Amy, can you unmute him?
I've asked to him to unmute himself. He might be frozen.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can talk during a motion.
It's
Well,
true.
not really, but you asked a question.
Right.
All right, let's continue with the motion. All in favor of the motion?
Wait,
signify-
no, we have the discussion.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Has anybody reached out to Bentry about their feelings on this? Part of creating that DORA was specifically to benefit our retailers and other businesses. I'd hate to eliminate Bentry because I spoke to them, the owners of it, and they were in favor of it. So I'd hate to eliminate them without giving them the opportunity to weigh in on whether they would like to be eliminated or not. I just want to know if we've reached out to them and you've talked to them.
Yeah.
They
Further
would,
discussion, Amy or Heidi?
Yeah, I guess my concern is that that's my ward, and I haven't heard a single peep out of anyone. The only peeps I've heard have been positive, but I haven't really heard it from anybody on North Water Street, pro or con. So I guess, my feeling is that why don't we do have the ability to change this. And if there are problems, we can revisit and see. I don't know that the brewski on Sunday really bothers me because we said that we're not starting it until noon anyways. I guess I don't want to handicap any of the businesses down there with unnecessarily. If it's and the residents, there are residents there. There are residents and many, people live all over downtown. So I guess right now I would like to personally put a pause on that amendment and maybe revisit it if need be. And I would hope that, we would get reports from any incidents that might occur as a result of the DORA.
Is there further discussion?
yeah,
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Ferrara.
Yeah, I'm going to vote against the amended motion. I think the other council members have brought up good points. And, the whole idea was to give this as a test run, the 90-day test run. I'd rather see us go back and cut things out than try to add things on if things don't work out. And, the business owners that are trying to establish those breweries right now, they need one less thing to worry about right now than having to come back to council to try to get added back into that footprint. So I think it just keeps it simple. I think the administration's done a ton of work. It works right now, and if it doesn't, we can certainly fix it.
There further
Mr.
discussion?
Mayor?
Mr.
Mr.
Kuhar?
Mayor?
Robin,
That's
says
what I
Robin.
say.
Wait a minute.
Robin's
Kuhar
trying.
has it.
Okay, so 3 out of 4 of the businesses on North Water Street are opposed to the DORA completely. And by cutting it off at Portage Street, I guess Bentry, if would miss out on people drinking beer in their coffee shop. But other than that, there is no beer places or wine places north of Portage Street anyhow. And I know Mr. Wright this morning was saying, he doesn't understand why they have to have the door at all and have people walk around with beer. And he says, and you know what's going to happen when they come up by my place, I'll be cleaning up the mess. And he asked me to speak in his behalf. So, and Mr. Simon's opposed to it. And, I'm just saying the people that are in those 2 block areas with evidently exception of Bentry are opposed to it.
Okay, Tracy, did you want to say
Mr. Mayor?
something?
Robin,
Wait a minute. Tracy, did you want to say something?
I just said that Robin had something to say, that's all.
Oh, Robin.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I might, direct a question, if I could, to Hope. If in fact we do a modification of this DORA, does this have to be reread? What is actually the implication on the implementation of the DORA? Is it delayed?
I hope you can hear me. I've been having some computer problems. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Hear you.
Okay. Yes. No, it would not have an effect on the implementation. What would happen if any amendment were made tonight and that amendment passed, the ordinance would be fixed or amended to reflect those amendments, but it would go into effect if it passed by 3/4 immediately.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, thank you, Hope.
You're welcome.
I have concerns as well, but the ability for us to be able to revisit these issues is kind of a situation that I think allows us the ability to move forward with this right now. I think that's probably the more appropriate direction to move, and hopefully, these issues won't eventuate. So I'm going to not support, although I do understand where John is coming from. I'm not going to be able to support the modification or the request for changing the legislation.
Is there further discussion?
Yes, I've got something additional.
Yes, Gwen? Mr. Rosenberg?
If I'm not mistaken, Heather Malarchuk in her presentation said that she reached out to St. Pat's and that they had no objection to it.
I think Mr. Wilkie reached out to St. Pat's. Am I right, Roger?
Someone reached out to St. Pat's.
Yeah, St. Pat's doesn't have any problem with it.
Okay.
That's correct.
Is there any more discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tracy. Ms. Wallach.
Tom, did you talk to the business up there, right?
He's muted. Oh, all right.
No, I did not speak to the businesses up there.
I know you didn't.
Okay.
All right, any more?
Yeah, I have another one.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I know that people are saying that it's easier to cut it back than to expand it, but I was wondering what everybody would think about maybe having it only go up to Brady, and then when the businesses came online, then they would be included automatically. I mean, it wouldn't have to come back to council. So the amendment would be amended to say, right now, while the breweries are not online, up till Brady Street, and then once they come online, it automatically expands to include the brewery at the end of Water. What do you think about that?
Well, you want to make a motion to amend the amendment?
All right, I'll make a motion to amend the amendment.
There a second to that one? Mike, did you second it?
I'll second it.
All right. Is it, just a minute, Heidi. Is there any discussion on the amendment of the amendment? Heidi?
Yes, I have a question. When is the brewery going to be coming online? Does Tom know the answer to that question? I thought it was July.
Oh, no, it won't be that soon. There's no definitive timeline, but probably not till the end of the year.
Anybody else? Mr. Kuhar?
Yeah, I don't know why Brady is the feature. Original amendment was, I think, was at Portage Street to cut it off. And most of the businesses from Portage North don't want the traffic.
Well, we don't know about Bentry. We haven't asked them.
Yeah, that includes Bentry.
Yeah, well, someone said they already talked to Bentry and they were for it, so. But
Yes,
other than them, they're the only ones, so.
Well, and it's meaningful for them.
You had something to say, Gwen?
I did. Basically, I'm not going to support either the amendment or the second amended amendment. I think that a fair amount of research by the city went into this plan. I think that I just would never want to rule Bentry out of something that they weren't able to represent themselves in their best interest. They're suffering just tremendously, as all small retailers, coffee shops, restaurants, and bars are. If it's beneficial for the brewery to use it in some kind of advertising to emphasize that they're part of DORA, I think that has value to them. If the DORA expires after the 90-day, I think we have a 90-day time limit on it before the brewery is open, well then, so be it, we can revisit things. But I'd hate to exclude them and deny them the opportunity to promote themselves as a downtown brewery and kind of participate in the kind of novelty and marketing that could generate.
Okay, is there further discussion on the amendment? Amy, I'm going to ask you to read back the amendment. That includes Brady Street.
It's to amend the original amendment up until Brady Street, until the brewery has opened up.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that amendment fails. Now go back to the original amendment of Mr. Kuhar. Will you please read that one?
To amend the boundary of the DORA to stop on North Water Street, at North Main Street. Hope I have that right.
North Portage Street.
Portage Street, sorry.
All right. All right, everybody in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Wait,
Aye.
this is the amended motion, right?
Yeah.
The amended motion, yes.
Thank you.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the first amendment fails. Now we're back to the draft. Is there any more
I had
discussion?
another amendment, but I don't even think I'm going to put it down. Because
All
that
right,
would,
are you satisfied, John?
pardon me? No, I'm not satisfied, but that's fine.
All right. Will you please call the roll for the original draft 2020-49, Amy?
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
No.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-49 is passed.
Okay, thank you. That's it for community development. We'll move
Hold on.
into.
Didn't
What
Mike, didn't Mike have to abstain since he's part of that?
Oh,
Oh, because he's got no financial.
Oh, what do you
Yeah.
think about Mike?
No. Can you hear me?
yes.
Yes.
No, he does not. After further research, he is okay.
All right, thank you. You all right, Tracy?
Good.
All right, we're gonna move into finance committee. Mr. DeLeone, need a motion for the committee meeting?
Let me get my schedule here. All right, I move the committee meeting minutes from June 3rd, 2020.
Second.
Second, is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you, that passes.
Okay, I'd like to move all four actions if anybody doesn't want them separated.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferrara, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-50 in title only?
Draft number 2020-50, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum principal amount of $2,145,000 to provide funds to pay costs of constructing a safety center and to retire outstanding notes that were previously issued for that purpose and declaring an emergency.
Move
Move
suspension.
suspension.
Second.
Second by Mike. Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? All right, Amy, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-50 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-51 in title only?
Draft number 2020-51, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in a maximum principal amount of $930,000 to provide funds to pay a portion of the costs of reconstruction Alley 5 Erie Street and DePeyster Street and otherwise improving nearby streets, including relocation of public utilities, landscaping, and installing parking payment devices, street signage, and site improvements, and to retire outstanding notes that were previously issued for that purpose and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Mike. Please call the roll on suspension.
Rosenberg, Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
and Mr. Kuhar.
Yes.
Need a motion for adoption.
Move
Adopt.
adoption.
John, and who's the second?
Second.
Mike, is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
and Mr. Kuhar.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-51 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-52 in title only?
Draft number 2020-52, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds at a maximum principal amount of $200,000 to provide funds to pay costs of replacing, upgrading, and extending sanitary sewer trunk lines and to retire outstanding notes that were previously issued for that purpose and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Garrett. Please call the roll for suspension.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Wallach, or Ms. Wallach?
Yeah, yes.
Can't blame that on me, Tracy.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second. Second by Rogers. Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
And Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-52 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-53 in title only?
Draft number 2020-53, a resolution declaring it necessary to renew the city's existing 0.73 mil tax levy for the purpose of providing sufficient funds for the current expense of maintaining and operating a fire station in the city of Kent west of the Erie Railroad, requesting the county auditor to certify the total current tax evaluation of the city and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by that renewal levy pursuant to sections 5705.03, 5705.19I, and 5705.191 of the revised code and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Mike. Is there any discussion or call suspension?
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
And Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Hearing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-53 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk please read draft number 2020-54 in title only?
Draft number 2020-54, an ordinance authorizing amending the city's 5-year revolving loan fund plan adopted on January 16, 2019 to include temporary flexibilities for certain economic development administration, EDA requirements in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by who, Gwen?
Yep.
Please call the roll for suspension.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
And Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second.
Second by Garrett. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-54 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-55 in title only?
Draft number 2020-55, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2019-139, the current appropriation ordinance passed December 18th, 2019, so as to adjust appropriations, transfers, and advances from various funds of the City of Kent to individual accounts for the current expenses of the city for the fiscal year ending December 30th, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second by Mike. Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner.
Yes.
Move
Suspension.
adoption.
Second. Adoption.
Second by John. Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-55 has passed.
All right, is there further, Mr. DeLeone?
That's all.
Health and public safety, there's nothing. Land use, we have some committee meetings. Mr. Ferrer?
We have, oh, I just lost it here. Hold on. I'm sorry.
Want me to run down the street and find them for you?
Oh, you don't have to do that.
Need the co-chair to chime in?
Yeah, go right ahead, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Land use, we can move the committee meeting minutes of May 20th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jack. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, there's no action. Streets and sidewalks, Mr. Sidoti.
Yes, I'd like to move the committee meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
I'd also like to move the two actions that were recommended, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Second by John. Is there any discussion on the actions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That passes. With the clerk read draft number 2020-56 in title only.
Draft number 2020-56, an ordinance establishing, approving temporary license agreements for outdoor patio dining areas and declaring an emergency.
Move
Move
suspension.
suspension.
Second it. Gwen?
I moved it.
Oh, all right.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach.
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by John. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Amrhein,
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
and Ms. Wallach.
Yes.
The ordinance 2020-56 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-57 in title only?
Draft number 2020-57, an ordinance authorizing the city manager or his designee to allow the Haymaker Farmers Market to use a portion of Franklin Avenue that will ensure social distancing can be maintained for vendors and patrons in response to the state of Ohio's COVID-19 pandemic health advisory and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Second. And Any discussion on this? No, where are we under suspension? I'm sorry.
Roll call.
Yeah,
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein.
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second.
second by John or Mike. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. DeLeone,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
It was me.
Mr. Kuhar,
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg,
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer,
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti,
Yes.
Mr. Turner,
Yes.
Ms. Wallach,
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-57 is passed.
Okay, thank you. That's it for land use. Is there any unfinished business that we need to know about? New business? Jack?
Yeah, I'm glad Chief Scher is here. I got a call the other day, and it dealt with a noise ordinance and asked why the police will not answer calls when a caller refuses to give their name and address. I wasn't aware that that was the case.
Sure. If I can respond to that, I've had several conversations, I believe, with the same gentleman. I believe Mr. Ruller has also had a conversation with him. One thing that I can assure you is I've listened to the audio recording from his call to dispatch. He was not told we won't respond. He was asked if specifically if he would like the officers to respond and handle it, or if he would like to sign a complaint against the violating party. The time of day, the call of his call was, I believe it was about 7 o'clock in the evening. So generally speaking, the way our noise ordinance is enforced is if it's between 9 o'clock at night and 8 in the morning, and we get a noise complaint, and the officer observes a violation, the officer will issue the citation on behalf of the complainant. However, usually if it's prior to 9 o'clock at night, we ask that the complainant sign. That being said, we still respond and are more than willing to deal with the complaint just by asking that they be respectful of their neighbors and quiet down. So like I said, we did not tell him he had to sign to generate a response from us.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further?
Yeah, I've got some.
Tracy?
Yeah, I have 3 things, okay?
All right.
3 things. Okay, so the first one is we get monthly reports from the police on the number of violations. We get monthly reports from the fire department. Can we also now get monthly reports from the health department on the number of COVID-19 cases in Kent? Would that be okay?
Joan?
I think so. I mean, I don't see why not. They are posted on social media. They're updated anytime they change.
Yeah, we just get them in our packets, that's all.
Need it in writing, we can send that along.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just usually on our monthly packets, we get all the reports. Okay.
All right.
Okay, the second thing is I would like to refer to the appropriate committee a discussion on mask wearing in Kent.
Second.
Is that okay? Second by Heidi. Okay, further discussion, Tracy?
Yeah, I just think that Mr. Ciccatelli has a point. We need to be consistent through Kent, because I notice when I go into certain businesses, they wear masks, certain other businesses, they don't wear masks. Is this an ordinance they're supposed to follow? Is it an ordinance they're not supposed to follow? So I just want to have a general discussion on what's appropriate mask wearing and what's, not allowed. You know what I'm saying?
Heidi?
We need,
yeah. You second it?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm a little bit confused, and a little bit concerned too at times. But I have seen a very high degree of compliance of business owners and employees, not so much of customers. And I know that we're not requiring, we're requesting. And I don't know that, I don't know. I think it would be a good discussion to have because of our speaker today brought up that we could make, we could strengthen what the state has if we so desired. It'd be worth talking about, and maybe under what circumstances would we want to do that?
There further discussion? Mike, unmute yourself.
Hope, can we make people wear masks on the streets? I don't know if she's there.
That, I'm here.
Okay,
That is something, that's something that we can explore.
okay, because
Okay.
yeah, I wasn't sure if we could actually do that.
We, you know what, we may not be able to have the ability to override the Ohio Department of Health, but that's something that I'd like to get together with Joan and we can talk about.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any more discussion? John?
You know, out of a courtesy, when I go into a business, I generally wear a mask. I also have my gloves on, but I think I would be totally offended if someone said when I was driving around in my car or walking down the street, I should have a mask on. I think the business owners, you know, they have a right to tell you that they don't want you in their store unless you have a mask on, but I don't think we have a right as.
Point of order. This is just to get it into committee to discuss.
Yeah, John, it's not committee right now.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That passes. Or one, yeah, John. Tracy, do you have another one?
Yeah, I have one more thing.
All right, go ahead.
So I'm going to read this one. So we are currently experiencing historical events playing out all around us. And as a council, we need to let our residents know that we are paying attention and are sensitive to what's happening. And so as a first step, I would like to make a motion to pass a resolution by the City of Kent stating that we support the mission of Black Lives Matters, which is justice and equality.
Second.
Second by Heidi. All right, back to you, Tracy, for your discussion.
Yeah, I think I pretty well said it. I mean, people are watching, and I think we need to stand up for equality and justice.
Yes.
Heidi?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm proud of our city. I think that we are a progressive city. And I think that if we don't say something, you know, who would? It's really, I think it's really incumbent upon us to have our statement. You know, we're seeing businesses, corporations coming out with a statement that Black Lives Matter. And what we're saying here is that we support the mission, which is social justice and equality.
There further discussion? Anybody? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, is that it, Tracy?
That's it.
Is there anybody else?
Oh,
Mr. Ferrara.
for new business, can we explore the a different venue for our council meetings now that we're, you know, whatever phase we're in? I find these Zoom meetings super inefficient, super awkward, and I don't think we're doing any service by not allowing the public to really see such inconvenience. And I think there's plenty of venues where we could be socially, have social distancing. And, you know, I just would make a motion that we explore that opportunity, or we don't have to have a motion. I would just ask that Dave and the administration consider that, because this is to the point of, I think we're
I
being.
think the governor hasn't changed his numbers by having 10 people as a group. Have they, Joan? Or Dave, you want to speak to that?
Yeah.
Correct. You're right, Chair.
He has not changed that. I know that you can have gatherings, but they have to be grouped in such a way or subgrouped in such a way of 10. So you could have 3 and then 10. And then if you had anybody else come in, they'd have to also be distant and in their own, it would be difficult, but it could probably be managed.
So, excuse my sarcasm, but can't we just call it the Kent City Council protest and stand on the steps of the police department and have 50 people there then?
That would be your First Amendment right.
Mhm.
You want to get a second to Garrett and we can have discussion?
If it's not, we got to follow the letter of the law of the governor. So there's, I'll take that back. I never meant that to be a motion. So let's just.
I kind of, just my gut feeling, I think maybe towards the end of July, it might loosen up a little. That's just my gut feeling. Roger, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I think, I'm curious, Amy, what's been our count? What are the metrics on YouTube? The number of people who have actually participated on the average night of city council being on Zoom?
I don't have the exact count right now. I know the first meeting, there were about 85 people that had watched the city council meeting. And that was, a tremendous increase from in-person meetings. And even for people watching or listening to the meetings on YouTube when we had just the audio. But it has been a larger audience.
Okay, so I think that the point to what Garrett is saying, I think that having people together is a lot better, only because you have people who are able to come in and actually stand in front of the council. On the other side of the coin, I think that people in the community have access now to see what goes on. So it's kind of a, it's kind of a balancing act. I think there's some benefit to having us on a Zoom, as much as I'm learning to hate Zoom by now. On the other side of the coin, I kind of agree with what Garrett is saying. It is frustrating that we're not together and we don't have people coming in. But I don't think you can argue with the numbers. When do we average 80 people, at a city council meeting?
Garrett, yeah, further?
Yeah, just a last point. Well, then I think the inefficiencies amongst the council and council members and the difficulty in having a conversation and a discussion doesn't mean that the council can't get together and we still can't open the meeting up on a Zoom that way. I just find it highly inefficient and awkward trying to communicate. People are stepping on each other. It inhibits conversation. It inhibits the free flow of ideas, I think, because of all of the technical difficulties that are presented. So I'd much rather we meet individually and close off the building and open it up on Zoom or open it up on YouTube that way. I mean, that's an option.
Yeah.
I have something.
I would second that.
Tracy?
I just say I would, if that were a motion, I would second that. I don't really like Zoom either.
Garrett, did you want to make that a motion?
I want to say something.
Yeah, I'd make it a motion, sure.
And Tracy, you're going to second it?
I'll second it.
Now, I guess we're back to the same discussion.
No further discussion from me.
I have a
Tracy,
discussion.
any further from you?
Nope.
Heidi has.
She has her hand up.
I do. I just want to share something. So I do.
On the motion?
Yes.
All right.
So I find it very effective. Right now at our yoga studio, what we're doing is we are continuing to Zoom our meetings and allowing a few people that are socially distant in, which is in accordance with the law. And we're finding that we're getting greater attendance. And, it's really nice for people to have options. However, people have to sign up in advance in order to come into the studio in live. So maybe if somebody needed to come and speak to us, that might be something that we could work on.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Just a comment, you got to remember we are the guests of the fire department. That is not our building. So not that I want to bring anything into our fire department, but I don't want to take anything home either.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Sidoti.
Well, maybe what we ought to explore is the community room below the police station, where we could spread out dramatically and be 10 feet apart and be able to conduct our meeting. That might be another venue, is all I'm suggesting.
I understand that too, but also we'd be the guests of the police department.
Right.
Sounds
Well, I
like we're
understand.
committee.
Well, that's why we got to build our city hall. Come on.
Well, Roger, get to work.
Well,
Anybody else? Tracy?
The motion was just to look and see if what could be done, that's all, instead
I
of
hear
Zoom.
you.
I know, we're just,
To tell you, the mayors I speak to are in the same boat. We're on it together. We're all doing the same thing right now. And we're hoping that the governor's gonna, change the limit of what who can meet and when we meet and the numbers we can meet. So just my comment. Anybody else? All right, under the mayor's report.
Do we have council members' comments yet?
I thought that's where we were, John.
No, I didn't. I thought we were under new business.
All right. Well, one bled into the other. Go ahead, John.
As some of you are probably aware, a lot of times I think that government oversteps their boundaries and steps on our rights. That being said, you know where I'm at, but I am looking out here with this virus going on, and I'm a bit disappointed in our public in some cases. I went by the bars this weekend, and social distancing was definitely at a distance because it wasn't happening. I see people coming and going, but the last thing that they do is sanitize before they go and sanitize when they come. So this virus is sticking around and it's not going anywhere. And it's so simple to try to prevent the virus by just keeping your hands clean when you leave the house and clean when you come back. And I look at, like Canada, it's much smaller, but their numbers are going down. And I want to go fishing, but they won't let us in because our numbers aren't going down. And our numbers will never go down unless we start disciplining ourselves to do what's necessary to keep safe. And I think even the lowest mentality in this country is smart enough to know how to do two things. And I'm very disappointed when I go out and I don't see people doing that. Yeah, I leave the house, my hands are sanitized. Anytime I go in a place, you can be assured that my hands are going to be clean. And when I leave that place, I'm going to sanitize again. It's that simple. And I wear masks when I go into businesses, and I know I don't have it. But why can't people just do the basics so we can get this thing behind us and not have to go through all this crap? And that Garrett's right. This thing for a council meeting sucks. But until we start doing what we're supposed to do as citizens and as residents, it's going to suck for a long time. So let's see what we can do to encourage people to do what they should be doing anyhow.
John, each and one of us have to be a role model. Everybody's got to watch us wear our masks when we go in and out.
Well, and the leader of the country.
I'll be a role model.
And how about the leader of the country needs to be a role model?
Well, I can't
worry
speak
about
for
the
what's
leader
in
of the country.
Washington.
I'm worried about Kent, Ohio.
yeah.
All right, is there anything else under council comments? All right, we're gonna move on to the mayor's report. As you know, Chief Lee had retired on the 5th of June. She had 33 years of on service for the city, and we thank her for that. She was given a plaque with her service dates and also a proclamation on a little get together on the 5th and we practice social distancing for that too. Steve Smith, a firefighter who also has 33 years in, he retired on the 8th of June. So he got a service plaque too. And welcome aboard our new chief, who actually, I think he took duty on the 8th. Is that right, Chief Shear?
Yes, I took the position on the 8th.
All right, we welcome him aboard.
Thank
you. I share all the sentiment about this mask and sanitation. I mean, I'm going downtown and finally got used to going in a restaurant, and all the servers and bartenders are wearing masks, but the people that aren't wearing the mask are the big clientele coming in and out of the door. And I think my wife and I were a novice because we're the only ones that had a mask. Then I went to the flag burning ceremony down at the Legion, and the servers, the bartenders, none of the clientele wore a mask, and I was the only one with a mask. So I don't know what the answer is. People feel that they shouldn't be forced to do it. But John, you're right. To beat this virus in the butt, we got to do some simple things, and we're not doing it. So If nobody else has anything, thank you, and we're adjourned.